G'day folks, it's DIY Guy 123 here. Today we're going to talk about this Frigidaire Gallery Series oven. Other than being dirty, it's a nice machine, convection, so it's, you know, it was not a cheap model. And it's, let me see if I can take this off without making a mess. It's got 5 burners, so I think it probably was pretty expensive. Anyway, somebody gave it to me for free. They gave it to me because everything here worked great, display, knobs, all of that. Everything on the top worked great, but nothing in here worked. Now the convection fan would work, but the elements wouldn't come on. The light would work. I have it unplugged right now. The light would work. That light didn't, but I suspect the burnt out bulb. That fan would turn, but no heat came out of any of the elements. And I thought, gee, you know, what's common about that? So after taking the back off of it, oh, and you might ask, why do I have it way up in the air like that? Because I do have a stove plug or an oven plug in my garage on the wall, and the cord to the oven was so short that I had to actually get the oven up in the air and close to get plugged in the wall. But anyway, so I took the back off it and immediately found this very nice wiring diagram, and I'm so grateful that that's a standard practice for appliances to keep the wiring diagram inside. And so I looked through it all and found that when you have a problem like this where elements aren't heating, there can be 3 causes. One, the element's bad. Well, in this case, it was both the top and the bottom element, and maybe even the convection element that wasn't coming on, so it wasn't that. Second, and I checked them, by the way, and one was 20 ohms for the broil, and the bake element was 17 ohms, so they weren't burnt out. The second is that the inputs to the computer that tell these elements to come on, maybe they're bad. Maybe there's a sensor that's bad, or like here's the probe sensor, temperature sensor, and I thought, well, maybe it's faulty. It's supposed to be about 1.1 kilo ohms, and I measured a little over 1 kilo ohm, so I think it's okay. And then the third thing, and this is the worst thing, is the computer's bad. You don't want that because basically they're a black box. Nobody really repairs them, I don't think, and they're expensive. You know, I don't know how much this one would cost, but probably a couple $100 anyway, maybe $200 or $300. So the computer's bad. Pretty much everybody junks the machine. Now, when looking at the diagram here, this type of stove has what they call a double switched element, which means when the element's not supposed to be on, no voltage is applied anywhere on either side of the element, on this side or this side, this side or this side, no voltage. There's another kind of stove where there's always 120 volts on one side, and then the computer switches on or off 120 volts on the other side to make 240 across the element. Different kind of stove, not this one. Well, as I turn the oven on, and if I turn on bake or broil, I could hear relays clicking, and I surmised that for each element to come on, there'd have to be 2 relays involved. One to control so here's line 2. It comes into the circuit board. It says DBL in, which just means double switched. Double meaning both lines are switched. So it comes in here, and when a relay switches it on, the current will come out here to this side of your elements. And then there's, sorry, I'm dancing all over. This is line 1, comes around here. It connects to the circuit board right here at the L1 connection. And when the elements are supposed to come on, there'd be a relay that would connect L1 to broil or L1 to bake, or maybe both. So since there'd be separate relays for bake and broil on the L1 side, but a common relay for the bake and broil on the L2 side, I thought maybe it's one relay that's broken that's causing this trouble. Well, the relays are in this board, and you know, I just took a chance, take it out, see what I can see. To get it out, it takes some patience, and it'd be easier with 2 people because it clips in 2 places. And if this was all together, it'd be easier to see, but I'm not going to push it in just to show you. Anyway, see the board that's right in front of my fingernail there? That board was below this little plastic tab. So in order to get the board up, I had to pry up this plastic tab. But there are plastic tabs on the inside of this surface where I'm touching, and they hold the top board down. So there's 2 boards you can see, top and bottom. The top one is freed, but the bottom one is still sort of stuck in there. I guess I'm going to take it out. So let's see if I can get the thing out. Okay, so I haven't managed to get the second board out. It's actually, you can see where this second board is caught on these plastic nubs that were actually originally holding the first board in. But anyway, but what I found, as soon as I got this apart, I could see this connection on the common relay. There's one big black relay there. It's common to both elements. And I thought maybe it's a problem with that relay. Well, as soon as I got it apart, I could see these, you know, obviously there's a problem with this solder joint right here. There's some smoky stuff there. And on the opposite board that would have faced it, you can see there was a little bit of smoke damage. Not damage, but whatever, smoke on there. So now what caused that? So one of two things is going on here. Either there was a cold solder joint which caused a, you know, bit of corrosion, and over time that joint became too hot. And because of the corrosion, it wasn't a good connection, and that's why it burnt. That's why it heated up and did what it did. That's one reason. Second reason is there's some type of a fault somewhere in the board that caused that to short circuit. Maybe an element's bad, maybe who knows. And so what I'm going to do is repair that. So to repair that, I'm just going to clean that off really well and resolder it, hopefully, you know, as well as it needs to be soldered. And then I'm going to put it all back together, but not connect any of the three elements. I'll leave them disconnected. And then I will see if the stove works. I'll connect no elements, turn it on, see if that re-liquefies and has a problem. And then start connecting elements one at a time, of course, with, you know, power disconnected each time, and see if I connect any of the elements, if that starts to have problems again. If I connect it all back up and there's no problem with anything, everything seems to work, and this doesn't smoke again and it's all good, then I will chalk it up to a cold solder joint from the factory. If, however, there's a problem and, you know, that liquefies again, then it's something else that's causing that to happen. You'd think there'd be a fuse somewhere that would let go first, but or trip a breaker or something like that. But anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. Really nice big blob on there. Okay, nothing fancy. And let's plug it in, see what happens. I'm just going to leave that out like that. I'm not going to fold it all back in because that's just more wear on all the connectors in case this doesn't fix the problem. Okay, so here we are. I've plugged the big fat connector in and these lines here, but I'm just going to check my phone. I took a picture before I disassembled this to make sure I get the color code right on the wires. You don't want to get that backwards. So on the far left be red, then brown, then yellow, blue, and black. And that's exactly what I've got there. Okay, so I feel pretty good about that. And the only other trick is these connectors right here. These are called a ribbon cable. You want to be careful with them. They're not very strong. I mean, they're fine, but don't go pulling on them. To release this out of here, you have to do, watch my fingers here. You got to pull. I'll do it with one hand. There. See how this part comes out? You do that, and then the ribbon cable falls out. So put it back in. Put the ribbon cable in there, and then that. So now that ribbon cable is back in place. Alright, so we're going to give this a shot. So I got all my cables backed in. There's nothing that's going to be shorted out. Remember, I did tell you I wanted to unplug these though, just to be, you know, just curious to see if everything works with with, oh wait, wrong one. If everything works, while I've got all the elements unplugged, like meaning the circuit board doesn't have any trouble, and then as I gradually put, now see that? I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do. So look, I'm going to get these secured and then I'm going to plug it in. Okay, so I've got it plugged in and you can see the display says PF, which stands for power fault. I'm going to hit the clear button. That goes away. I'll turn this on. None of the elements are connected and I secured them to make sure they weren't going to short anything out, the wires. So I'm going to just turn it on bake, and I don't expect anything to happen because the element's disconnected. In fact, if the thing was smart enough, it would tell me fault because the element's not there, but I'm not expecting that to happen. So what am I expecting to happen? Well, the display looks the same as it did before. Maybe I'm waiting to see some smoke or a flash or smell something or hear something. But I would expect the bake relay to cut in and the big relay to cut in and try to turn that element on. Let's cancel this and do broil. Again, nothing should happen. Oh, I did hear a click back there. Okay. Here, I'll cancel and maybe you can hear the click too. Cancel in 3, 2, right. So I'll turn bake on. Maybe I hadn't hit start before. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Okay, so the relays are working. I'm actually going to just hit start and stop with my finger on that big black relay to see if I can feel it. Yeah, so I'm feeling that relay trigger now, and it wasn't before. All right, well, let's hook up the bake element, I guess. Let's do that. Okay, so I actually hooked up the broil element because that was the easiest to hook up. So I'm going to do broil 550 start. I don't know, is anything happening? Is that element getting hot? Ooh, yep. All right. Broil's working. Let's leave that on for a minute. Okay, well, I imagine the camera picks it up, but that burner's red hot, so there's nothing wrong with that broil element. It's doing its job. Not up to temperature yet, but that's okay. So we're gonna cancel that, and then I'll plug in one of the other ones to show you what it is that I'm doing back here. So this is the bake element. I had that wire disconnected. This is the convection element, or well, convection fan and then convection element. You see that wire right there? It is disconnected. And this right here is the bake element, and its wire is disconnected. It's not there. So I recommend you always turn the power off before you work on these things. That's what I recommend. There, convection element's back in business. So let's turn that on, see if that does anything. Convection, bake, 325, start. What's this button do? I don't know what that does. Maybe if you have it on bake, you can add convection to it, turn it on and off. I have no idea. Anyway, all that you see there, that worked before too, the fan and the display, so there's nothing like great about what I see there. But what I'd like to do is see if that is turning, that element is turning on, and I have no way to know because this one's already been on. Anyway, okay, we'll put the bottom one in and try bake. Okay, so here we are. Bake element is now reconnected. Start. I don't know, maybe something's happening. I don't know if those elements stay on when your door is open, so I better just keep the door shut. All I did was put back the solder that was blown off of there. If there's a problem, and it's gonna, if there's some other kind of problem, that solder is gonna liquefy and come off there again. And at that point, I'll know that, okay, what I did is not the permanent fix, and, maybe I'll look into it further, or maybe I'll just give up on it. But I'm not concerned about making it any worse than it was before I started. So look, that's how I went about diagnosing this bad relay. It's actually, the relay seems okay. It was the solder connection. And I'm not saying that this is how you should repair your oven, but this is how I have repaired my own. So if you like this video, please subscribe, and good luck with you.